You know, I'm Carol Angela Davis. I bring you your news. It is Friday, so this disaster. Folks, it just keeps getting worse. Over the years, we all know people have always said, boy, the White House is lucky. All they need is one big disaster and everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. Well, they got the big one, the biggest one we could possibly get, at least to this point. And you know what, folks? It's having a domino effect on every single aspect of our lives. And we also know we've got a White House that hired people for the wrong reasons, frankly, because they were big donors. They wrote a check for $1 million. They were close to the president. They were Republicans. They were friends of the president, but not necessarily because they were very good at their jobs and had very deep knowledge of their industry. And now we got a problem. And we also have way too many jobs that are vacant in very critical areas. So we're in trouble. As COVID-19 spreads, we hear that a cure is more than a year away. A year away. So why make it worse? Why? COVID-19 is a respiratory illness, so we all know that it makes sense that pollution is going to make that sucker worse. In fact, even a tiny single unit increase in particle pollution levels in the years before the pandemic, folks, is associated with a 15% increase in death. All right, and we're right there. Remember, though, that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency suspended its enforcement of environmental laws on March 26. Don't forget that, and pending the finishing of the coronavirus, which we don't know when it's going to finish. It could be 3 years. So why would the White House suspend these laws now when we know a respiratory illness is going to make people die, a lot more die, and die a lot faster? A study by researchers at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, it suggests that people in polluted areas are far more likely to die from the coronavirus than those living in cleaner areas. Dirty air simply increases the risk of acute respiratory distress syndrome. It is extremely deadly. It is a cause of COVID-19 related deaths. It's also a cause of other respiratory problems and heart failure. All right, that could explain the high incidence of Black and Hispanic deaths in this country from COVID-19 because their neighborhoods do tend to be targets of polluters, and we all know the government lets it happen. Scientists say ensuring cleaner air in the future will help reduce COVID-19 deaths. So again, I have to ask you, why? Why would you allow the Environmental Protection Agency to just go hog wild and do whatever why would the Environmental Protection Agency allow companies to basically go hog wild and do what they want to do? I mean, is anyone thinking here? Or maybe they are thinking. We need to think about that. One Harvard scientist says, quote, "It is likely that COVID-19 will be a part of our lives for a long time, despite our hope for a vaccine or treatment. In light of this, we should consider additional measures to protect ourselves from pollution exposure to reduce the COVID-19 death toll." Okay, Northern Italy, you should know, that is one of Europe's most polluted areas. That's right, folks. And the death rate in Northern Italy, in the Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna regions, do you know it was about 12% compared with 4.5% in the rest of Italy? That tells you right there what pollution will do. We have to get rid of it. And that's not all. The domino effect keeps going. Let's look at your food supply. The Guardian is reporting that millions of dollars worth of food is going to waste in California and Florida because of massive, massive surpluses of highly perishable items. Now, I know the food banks are getting a lot of food and they are doing a terrific job, But did you know this? Do you know that half the food that's grown in America was previously destined for restaurants, schools, stadiums, theme parks, and cruise ships? Half, and all of those are closed. Agricultural officials say it's not the supply, it's matching that supply with demand and getting it to where it is needed most. In South Florida, a major producer of vegetables for U.S. consumers, you should know the cost to pick and pack that produce is now higher than the market price that they can sell and get for that produce. That is a serious problem. Strawberries on the California coast and lettuce in the Salinas Valley, called the salad bowl because that's where 70% of the nation's lettuce is grown. They have been particularly hit hard in efforts to keep farm workers safe. Finally, they are trying to keep the farm workers safe and keep them socially distanced. All that does is make harvesting even slower, but we got to do it. Florida growers have asked the U.S. Department of Agriculture to buy the surplus produce so it could be donated to people in need without further hurting their finances. We hope the government does that for them. The California Department of Food and Agriculture is partnering with the California Association of Food Banks to provide more food to the food banks. And then there's global warming. You didn't forget about that, did you? That's right, folks, there's global warming and the weather, and authorities are very concerned that once these floods and hurricanes and tornadoes start, and they start in April, that once they start, people are going to be reluctant to go to the shelters because they're going to be afraid that they cannot social distance in the shelters, and that is a problem, people. It is a mess. And this weekend, this Easter weekend, you should know there are threats of bad weather all across the board, people. And we already have warmer than necessary, warmer than normal, I should say, weather in the Gulf of Mexico. And you know what that means. When that water is warmer than normal, that's when the hurricanes churn and churn and churn. And they are expecting 4 major storms this hurricane season. So you have to be very careful this weekend. You have to really think about, fortifying your home, because if you have to go to a shelter, I don't know how they're going to do that. Disaster after disaster after disaster. Okay, we do not have the leadership at the highest levels of government, and frankly at a lot of levels of government, to really help us out in this time of our greatest need, to plan, to strategize. And even if we have it, if we have the help, folks, the question is, I don't think we have the empathy. I mean, when I look at what is going on with the pollution, which is just such a no-brainer, that the pollution is causing respiratory problems, and when you have a respiratory illness, that's a problem because it makes you more likely to die. And we simply have, at this time, would let the EPA allow more pollution in the air. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, are these people sitting around waiting on us to die? I mean, you have to ask. And it's sad, but we have to ask that question. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I thank you for staying with me. It was a long segment. Thank you for paying attention to all the issues. We have to vote in November, and it's going to be tough. And I'm going to keep putting the issues out here because you have to know what they are. You have to spread them around. People have to know, because we have to get to the polls no matter what it takes. Thanks for watching.